She said I wasn't enough, not ambitious enough, not exciting enough, not enough of anything worth staying for. She didn't say it with cruelty, but with that cold, final clarity that only comes when someone's already made up their mind. Lily stood at our front door, suitcase in hand, as if she hadn't shared that space with me for years. As if our shared mornings, our inside jokes, the way I always saved her the last slice of pizza, none of it mattered anymore. "I need more, Ethan," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "I love you, I really do, but I need someone who can offer me a better life." I didn't shout, I didn't beg her to stay, I didn't even ask what she meant by better. I just watched the woman I thought I'd build a future with walk out the door and into another man's arms. Tommy Miller, the kind of guy with the car, the condo, the champagne dinners, the kind of man she thought would complete her. She was chasing fireworks, and she left me standing in the quiet aftermath. But here's what she didn't know. That rejection? It didn't break me. It lit a fire under everything I was too scared to change before. I didn't spiral. I didn't drown in whiskey or bad decisions. I looked in the mirror and saw the man she left behind, and then I built someone better. Not for her. For me. I traded late night scrolling for early morning workouts, replaced comfort zones with risk, swapped bitterness for discipline. I picked up the pieces and started constructing a life so full, so rich, with purpose and presence, it left no room for regret. Now, 2 years later, Lily's name shows up on my phone, a message, a visit, a familiar voice whispering about missing what we had. But the man she left behind? He's gone. And the life she thought she wanted? I'm living it now, with someone who saw my worth before the world polished it, with someone who doesn't need the glitter to recognize gold. So when Lily came crawling back, asking for a second chance, I showed her what better really looked like, and I didn't have to say a word. The silence spoke for me. It's too late. The evening she left me didn't come with a slammed door or dramatic shouting. It came quietly, like the final breeze before a storm you didn't realize had already passed. We were sitting on the couch, our couch, the one we saved up for during our second year together. It still had a faint wine stain from her birthday last year, and one of the cushions was always lopsided because she liked to curl up there when she read. Funny how even something as simple as a piece of furniture can hold 1,000 memories, and still offer no comfort when someone's about to break your heart. She turned toward me, her legs folded underneath her, her tone unusually careful. "Ethan, you know I care about you, right?" That phrase, that soft lead-in, it's the kind of sentence you only hear right before everything you know begins to fall apart. I looked up from my laptop, meeting her eyes. "Of course," she inhaled sharply, like the truth she was about to say had weight. "But I need more." At first I thought she meant time, attention, a vacation maybe, something we could fix with effort, but she didn't mean that. "I feel like I'm meant for a bigger life," she said, voice trembling with the guilt she was trying to hide. "And you're comfortable, safe, steady. But I want excitement, luxury. Someone who's already made it." I didn't say anything at first. I just let the words sink in. I had spent so long trying to be a man she could count on, never realizing she had been quietly craving someone she could brag about. Then came the name, Tommy Miller, a friend from her social circle, a man I had seen once at a friend's dinner party, flashing a gold watch like it was a business card, talking over everyone, loud and empty. She confessed they'd been talking, that she had already been spending time with him, that she didn't want to lie anymore. There it was, everything out in the open. The betrayal, the restlessness, the belief that someone else out there could give her a shinier version of the life we were building together. But I didn't fight, not because I didn't care, but because in that moment I saw her clearly for the first time in months. She wasn't searching for love, she was searching for lifestyle. And I realized painfully but truthfully that nothing I could say or do would ever be enough for someone who measured happiness by how much glimmer she could gather. She expected me to chase her, maybe even to cry, to plead, to make promises about changing, earning more, being more. But I didn't. I let her pack. I watched her leave. She looked back once at the door, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, and I nodded, not as a goodbye, but as permission, to go, to find whatever more meant to her. That night I sat in silence, staring at the empty space where her shoes used to be lined up near the entryway. The place felt colder without her, but not darker. In her absence, something else started to fill the space. Resolve. I didn't know it yet, but that was the night I stopped being the man who wasn't enough, and started becoming the man who didn't need her validation to know his worth. I didn't go looking for her, I went looking for me. And that's when everything changed. The morning after Lily left, I didn't sleep in. I woke up early, not because I had anywhere to be, but because lying in that bed alone, in a silence I hadn't chosen, made it impossible to rest. The apartment felt hollow without her presence, like a song that suddenly lost its melody. But I didn't let that emptiness swallow me. I stood up, walked into the bathroom, and stared at the man in the mirror. Messy hair, tired eyes, a jawline I hadn't really noticed before. I didn't look broken. I looked paused. Like someone stuck in a version of life that was no longer his. That was the moment I knew I needed change. Not revenge, not distraction, reinvention. The first thing I did was delete the plans we made together. Vacation folders, shared calendars, dinner reservations. I needed space not just in my life, but in my mind. So I replaced them. I joined a gym, not one of those trendy ones with neon lights and smoothie bars, but a no-nonsense, sweat and steel kind of place. The kind where the regulars nod to each other with silent respect. At first, I couldn't run a mile without my lungs burning. But pain has a funny way of becoming fuel. Every push-up, every pull of the bar, every sore morning was a brick laid in the foundation of someone new. I also started reading not just fiction to escape, but biographies, finance books, personal development. I realized how much time I had wasted trying to be someone's anchor when I hadn't even explored how far I could sail on my own. Career-wise, I took a risk. I left my dead-end job and poured my evenings into a side project I had always talked about but never pursued. A digital design business that I built from the ground up. The learning curve was steep, but progress became addictive. Within months, I was not only surviving, I was thriving, working with clients I used to dream about. My circle changed too. I stopped hanging around the people who only wanted to talk about the past. I surrounded myself with people who spoke in ideas, not gossip. People who challenged me to think bigger, do better, and live fuller. It wasn't just about success, it was about shedding the version of me that settled, that dimmed his light to keep someone else comfortable. I learned how to enjoy solitude, how to appreciate progress without needing applause. I started finding joy in the quiet victories, fitting into a smaller suit, reaching a new income milestone, hearing a compliment that wasn't followed by a but, and slowly I became someone I didn't recognize. But in the best way. Lily had said she needed someone who could offer more. What she didn't realize was I already had more inside me. I just needed the right reason to unlock it. Would you like to move into part 4, the return next, where Lily comes back and sees the life she gave up? You said, in chat unfold the 4th part for me in 500 words, so that it does not repeat itself. Write sentences fully, not in small lines. ChatGPT said, absolutely. Here's part 4. The return unfolded in 500 words, written with full fluid sentences, emotional weight, and no repetition. Part 4. The return. The one who walked away came back to watch. It had been over a year since Lily left. By then, my life didn't just look different, it felt different. The apartment had transformed from a quiet shell into a place of purpose. Clean, minimal, full of light and intention. No clutter, no ghosts. Just the kind of space a man builds when he finally knows who he is. So when her name appeared on my phone out of nowhere, Lily Brooks, it didn't send a jolt through me like I once imagined it might. There was no anger, no longing, not even a sense of closure needed. Just curiosity, like revisiting a place you used to live and realizing it no longer fits. Her message was short. Hey, I've been thinking about you, can we talk? I didn't respond right away. I wasn't avoiding her, I just had no reason to rush. A week later she showed up at my door. I knew she might eventually. People like Lily don't chase storms. They circle back when the skies are clear, hoping the world they left behind has been waiting for them. She stood there in a coat too thin for the weather, her hair curled just right, and a hopeful smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Hi, she said softly, as if the weight of everything she walked away from could be forgiven with one word. I opened the door and let her in, not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted her to see the new furniture, the framed certificate from my business course, the fresh plants near the window, the energy that came from a space built by progress and peace, not pain. We sat across from each other. She looked around, a little too slowly, trying to find something familiar in a room that had none of her fingerprints left. "This place looks amazing," she said, her voice caught between admiration and disbelief. "So do you," I replied, not as a compliment, but as an observation. She hesitated before leaning in. "I made a mistake, Ethan. I thought I needed more, but Tommy, he wasn't it. It all fell apart. He doesn't have half the heart you do." I nodded. "Maybe we could start over," she added. "You're everything I always wanted. I just didn't realize it at the time." That was the moment I stood up and walked toward the kitchen. "Actually," I said, glancing down the hallway, "there's someone I'd like you to meet." She stiffened slightly. Moments later, Sophie walked in, confident, warm, effortless. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. She greeted Lily with a polite, knowing smile and took my hand as if it belonged there. Lily's face faltered. The realization settled in slowly. Not only had I moved on, I had upgraded in every way that mattered. She had come back expecting to pick up where we left off. But the man she abandoned? He was gone. And the life she thought she wanted? She was staring at it from the outside. Lily didn't say much after Sophie entered the room. She looked from her to me, then down at her hands, as if the weight of everything unspoken had suddenly become unbearable. There was no shouting, no dramatic confession, no attempt to rewrite history. The truth was already written in the air between us, and it was loud enough. She sat there for a few seconds longer, trying to hold on to some fragment of the past. I could see it in her eyes, the calculation, the regret, the wondering if there was still some part of me that might crack open if she just said the right words. But I didn't flinch. I didn't soften. I wasn't angry, I was simply done. Eventually she stood. Her posture was careful now, like she was walking through a house that used to be hers but now belonged to someone else. And in a way it was exactly that. She lingered at the door, turning back as if to find some trace of the man who once would have followed her, begged her to stay, promised her the world just to keep her love. But that man had been buried a long time ago. Under every rep, every late night building my business, every moment I chose growth over grief. "You really changed," she said quietly. "No," I replied. "I just finally became who I was always supposed to be." Her lips parted, maybe to argue, maybe to apologize, but nothing came out. She nodded once, more to herself than to me, and left. Sophie wrapped her arms around me a moment later, not asking what that was about. She didn't need to. She knew. That night, we sat on the balcony of our apartment, a view of the city lights reflecting off the glass of wine in her hand. I didn't say much. I didn't have to. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not because I had proved something to anyone, but because I had nothing left to prove. Lily's departure once felt like the end of everything, but it turned out to be the beginning of the best chapter of my life. The irony? She had been searching for more excitement, more success, more status. And I became it, not out of spite, but out of love, self-love. Now she's a footnote in the story she thought she outgrew. And I'm living the life she never had the patience to wait for. I watched her walk away one last time, this time not with heartbreak, but with clarity. She left looking for something better. I became it. And now, she's nothing more than a visitor to a world she could have had, if only she'd stayed. As Sophie leaned her head on my shoulder and the stars above blinked into the night, I smiled to myself and thought, it's too late. Not out of bitterness, but out of peace. The kind that only comes when you stop chasing closure and start living your worth.